Welcome to the Red Story, and just subscribe so I understand that everything is not in vain. Make some tea or coffee and listen to our new story. I first met my husband, Daniel, 10 years ago at my best friend Claire's wedding in Sonoma, California. I remember it vividly. Late afternoon sun, rows of vineyards, laughter drifting over tables set with white linen. He was tall, lean, with an easy grin and a twinkle in his eye. There was something about his laughter, warm, effortless, like he truly reveled in the moment, and his humor. It had everyone around him smiling within minutes. We ended up talking by Rose Arbor, trading witty banter and discovering shared loves. Hiking trails, old jazz records, and French films. By the time the band played their final song, I knew this was more than a fleeting connection. We started dating soon after, and within a year, we were standing on a Maui beach, exchanging vows as the Pacific rolled gently behind us. It felt like we had it all: love, stability, and two good jobs waiting back home in a suburban Seattle neighborhood. Life looked promising. We pooled our savings to buy a cozy craftsman-style house. It was painted a gentle gray with a cherry red door. Inside, hardwood floors and high ceilings gave us room to grow. After 2 years of blissful marriage, we welcomed our first child, Sam. He was a beautiful boy, but he was born with special needs. It threw our plans into a tailspin: doctor's appointments, therapies, bills. We poured all our energy into helping him, but it strained us. I remember one quiet night, rocking Sam in the nursery painted pale blue, tears slipping down my cheeks as Daniel stood in the doorway, silent and unsure. As time passed, Daniel began to change. The easy humor I had fallen in love with disappeared. Where once he teased me affectionately, now he commented critically. "Are you wearing that old sweater again?" He'd say, frowning. Or, "Who are you chatting with these days? You're always on the phone." I'd snap back, defensive and hurt. "I'm talking to Claire, my best friend. Remember her?" He'd sigh, rub his temples. "Never mind," he'd mutter, retreating into his own world. He grew irritable, short-tempered. I suspected depression weighed on him, our son's condition, our mounting responsibilities. Stress engulfed us both, and love's glow dimmed. I felt trapped, anxious. In my desperation, I turned to alcohol. A glass of wine once a week turned into a daily habit. I found a strange comfort in it. Each sip took the edge off the silence and tension. Soon, I was finishing a bottle before Daniel came home, sitting at the kitchen counter and pretending everything was fine. One evening, after a bitter argument over something trivial, maybe I'd forgotten to pick up his dry cleaning, I grabbed my purse and left before he could say more. "Where are you going?" he asked, voice muffled behind me. "Out," I said shortly, slipping into my coat. "I need air. Don't wait up." With my friend Morgan's reluctant agreement, I started frequenting a neighborhood bar downtown. It was a dim place with old movie posters and a dusty jukebox. Morgan worried about me, but I waved her off. "I just need to unwind," I said, forcing a smile. She looked unconvinced but stayed by my side. In that bar, I started chatting up strangers, just talking at first. It felt freeing. No one judged me. One man stood out, Eric. He was about my age, had a clever grin and a relaxed posture that reminded me, heartbreakingly, of Daniel's old charm. Eric was married too, father of two, fed up with life's pressures. We bonded over shared exasperations. Words turned into flirtation, flirtation into touches, touches into something more. I began sleeping with Eric weekly. In those moments, I felt like a woman again, not a harried mother, not a disappointed wife. I had no shame, just numb relief from the chaos at home. Morgan confronted me one night as we stepped out into the bar's neon-lit alley. "This is insane," she hissed, grabbing my wrist. "You have a husband, a special needs child, and now you're, what, living a double life." I pulled my arm free, glaring. "Don't lecture me, Morgan. You don't know what it's like to be in my shoes." She looked stricken but said nothing more. I continued the affair for a year. Eric and I never discussed love or leaving our spouses. It was just a secret escape. I kept this hidden from Daniel, who remained oblivious. He was distant anyway. Why would he suspect me of betrayal? Then fate intervened. I discovered I was pregnant again. The news jolted me out of my alcoholic haze. I quit drinking immediately, terrified of harming the unborn child. The question loomed, who was the father, Daniel or Eric? Fear knotted my stomach, yet I couldn't confess. I wanted to preserve what remained of my marriage. Maybe the baby would be a new start. I dared to hope things could improve. I tried being more attentive to Daniel, cooking his favorite meals, asking about his day. He seemed surprised, suspicious even, but softened slightly. The house felt less like a battlefield. I stopped going to the bar. Eric noticed and texted me, but I never responded. That chapter was done. Morgan came by one afternoon, folding her arms as she eyed my small bump. "Do you think you can really pretend this never happened?" she asked softly. I looked away, ashamed. I have to try. For Sam, for this baby, for us. Morgan sighed, then placed a hand on my shoulder. "Just be careful. Secrets have a way of surfacing." Over the next months, as my belly grew and I stayed sober, Daniel and I found a fragile peace. He still had moments of irritability, and I still felt pains of guilt, but we managed. The house was quieter. Our weekends passed without yelling. Sam smiled more, responding to the gentler atmosphere. One evening after Sam was asleep, Daniel surprised me by telling a small joke about something silly, his old boss's toupee, I think. It was a weak joke, but I laughed, tears of relief prickling my eyes. That humor I cherished had resurfaced, if only briefly. We never addressed the darkness that had settled in our marriage. He never asked if there'd been someone else. I never volunteered the truth. The crisis that nearly broke us went unspoken, an ugly stain we pretended not to see. Maybe that's cowardice. Maybe it's survival. But I sensed we both wanted to move forward, not backward. Now, as I write this, I am heavily pregnant and hopeful. Life is no fairy tale, but the crisis seems to have passed. I regret my actions. I'm not proud of my betrayal or my dive into alcoholism. But I've emerged sober, more aware of my flaws and desperate to do better. Daniel and I are still together, expecting our second child, trying to recapture what was once pure and true between us. I know I'm at fault, and I've sworn never to repeat such mistakes. If anyone reading this judges me harshly, I understand. I judge myself too. Yet I share this story hoping someone might learn. Pressure and despair can lead us astray, but it's never too late to try to heal. I was unfaithful and selfish. I hurt my husband without him even knowing it. But now I choose to be faithful, to stay sober, to be a better partner and mother. Will it last? I can't say. Will the truth ever come out? I don't know. Right now, I focus on today. Today, we are together, and I'm committed to doing my best. Sometimes, that must be enough.